want to hear about these motherfuckers. It's time to go. All I want to do is fucking eat.
We're not practicing to beat somebody. We're practicing to beat everybody.
Nowhere to run and nowhere to hide for 4 quarters. They got to see us in our house for 4 quarters. They got to look us in the eye for 4. This is about us and our family and our house. This is about us. This is our mentality. We ain't backing down. We ain't running. Set a tone, send a message. This is our house. Physical toughness wins in football now. And if you in this room, you got it. And if you come in here, you better believe in it. Because this physical toughness is what makes the difference. Elite focus. That's all I'm doing. The guy across from me, I'm fixing to whip his ass. Not in my box. Not today. It's about us. It's about our family. We attack. You take that helmet and you strike them. And you strike them and you strike them. That's how you get respect.
Now I am gonna pick shit out of them. Physically, I want to break them.
Told them, how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told them.
Oh, welcome back in, everybody, to another episode of How About DAWGSCAST.
That's what I told them.
Boy, I did not know we were going to be so busy this week, but I got to tell you, this show is chock full. So I'm glad you're here with me. And we're going to check it out. We're going to get into some stuff because what I want to talk about tonight is the same thing that Kirby Smart's been talking about for a couple of years. And that is, you're either elite or you're not. Let's look at what it's going to take to build the Bulldogs of 2023. Let's look at what it's going to take, or what that has to happen every year for Kirby Smart and his coaching staff to build a new Georgia Bulldogs team. And what we're going to do tonight is not let me tell you what that is, because although I have some exposure, I'm not there. I'm not living it. We're going to bring the guys to you, the coaches, the players who are living it every day, and let them tell you what it takes to be at the University of Georgia, to build a new team each year, because we're in the middle of fall camp right now. This is when it all happens. Football's so close, we can actually smell it. We were driving around. I took my kids to school today, and I was telling stories about early morning football camps where the dew is heavy on the grass and you're out there at 5:30 before the sun comes up, and what it takes to build a football team. We're going to look at that tonight. I'm glad everybody's here with us. I see a few people in the chat already. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much for that. And without further ado, I mean, tonight the point is all about the dogs, and it is about Kirby Smart and the kind of people that make the University of Georgia football program what it is. So I'm just going to let him tell you about it, and we'll go from there.
We look for 2 things when we look for people to join our organization. I'm not talking about players. I'm talking about anybody in our organization. Do they love football, and do they embrace being part of something bigger than themselves? Are they selfless? Every full-time coach on this year's staff was on last year's staff. We have 26 UGA grads on our staff. Retention for us is the key. Better never rests. And we firmly believe that. So, we've done a lot of studies this offseason at things we can do better and things we can improve on. I know Kamari Lassiter's why. I know Brock Bowers why. I know Cedric Van Pran's why, because I can probably get more out of them by spending more time with them as players. Making sure people enjoy their work environment, right? Like, I want to come to work each day. And a lot of the motivation to come to work and enjoy it is that you enjoy your time with your family. When they are here, they're more passionate about their work and they want to stay. I want to make it enjoyable for our coaches so that they feel good and they want to stay and they can bring their family to every event we have and let their kids run around and enjoy it. That's important to me because I want my kids around as well. So the retention part is letting them do their job and making their job more enjoyable.
And there he's telling you just like it is. I mean, think about what these coaches do. Think about what these players do, what they sacrifice, what they give to the University of Georgia. I mean, yes, they are all very well paid, very well taken care of. But the thing that's going to come through in tonight's show is that it is so much more at the University of Georgia than a paycheck or a scholarship. You're going to hear these guys talk about what it means to be there, what it takes to be there. Coach just told you it's about family. He wants to build his own little family and keep them there. Earlier in the offseason, someone was asking him a question about what is it like with NIL and transfer portal and people leaving. And Coach said, well, I don't think about it that way. I don't think you should build your team through the transfer portal. I don't think that's an effective way to build your roster. He said, what I want to do is build a family and then make that family the kind of place that people want to hang around even when it gets tough, that people want to stick it out for 3 years, 4 years. They don't want to take the easiest route. So he said, I don't want a member of my family to leave. So I think that soundbite that we just heard from Coach Smart tells you that that really is his philosophy. That really is the way he looks at things. But he's not the only one. I mean, he's obviously the guy in charge, but it's everybody else in the program. It's everybody else. If they don't buy in, if they don't feel the same way, if they are looking somewhere else at the first opportunity to leave, you're going to have a crack in your program, and you're not actually going to achieve everything that you could possibly achieve. So it is vital that the players, the coaches, from the top all the way down through the rest of the football program, the staffers, the administration, that everyone is pulling in the same direction. And as evidence of that, check out this sound here.
I'm not going to lie, like, if you don't love football, you really can't be here. And you really can't be around me, because I take a lot of pride in this game. This game has done a lot for me, and I hope to God and pray that it continues to do a lot for me. And, like, I just take a lot of pride in this game. I love this game. It means a lot to me.
My goal is for the team to do what we came to do, and set out to be who we set out to be. And I ain't really worried about my goals anymore. I'm really working about the team. Team success brings individual success, so that's what I'm worried about. This is the University of Georgia, so we have talent everywhere. We have the size, we have the mindset. I just feel like as a part that been here, a piece of the defense that been here the last 2 years, I just think we got to have connection. At the end of the day, the connection brings a team together, and that's something we're building right now.
They're extremely competitive, extremely hardworking. They love football. They're good people. You check those four in addition to your skill set, those are guys who want to coach. I always define, there's a lot of ways to define quality of life, right? And one, you're responsible as a husband and a father to do what's best for your family and their well-being. And my family's extremely happy here. Two, quality of life in this profession is generally tied to winning. And I've been very fortunate between both being here and at Alabama that we've been extremely successful. So I have a high expectation and standard for what I want to achieve in my career. Beyond that, I mean, I think a lot of men, women, people in general, people always talk about the grass isn't always greener. And when you look at it, there's been a lot of people who have been extremely happy, and they tried to become happier, and they ended up miserable. So, I'm extremely happy here. I love the people I work with. I love the players that I get to coach, and I love where I live. So there's a lot of reasons why to still be at Georgia.
We have 26 former alumni, okay, that are now working in our program in some capacity, okay? And what that illustrates is Georgia's willingness to welcome people back, okay? The university's willingness to, it's not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. It's not just going to take care of you for your time here in Athens, right? But it does have the ability to help you find a career, right? And so it also shows recruits and parents that once you leave Athens, a lot of people want to come back to Athens, right? It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to, build a career. It's a great place to go to school. I mean, you guys know there's no place like this anywhere else in the country. And so I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to coach at my alma mater. And Coach Smart's afforded me that. Josh Brooks has afforded me that. And I'm very thankful for that.
And there you go. I mean, Coach Hartley just pointed it out. Coach Smart mentioned it earlier. There are like 26 different alumni that are on the staff in the building every day. So this is not something where guys are showing up for a paycheck or they're just cashing it in. These guys care about the product that's on the field. They care about the young men who are in the building. They care about the reputation of both the team and of the university. And as an alumni myself, that's exactly the way I want it to be. I mean, I care about it as much as a fan can care about it. So I want my coach and my players to treat it the same way. I view that as showing respect not only to me, not only to the game itself, but to the university. And that is important to me. If you're here on this stream, I'm betting it is important to you as well. So that hopefully gives you a pretty good idea of both what Kirby Smart is trying to set out as the plan at the University of Georgia. Hopefully it lets you know that the players that are involved in the program at the University of Georgia feel the same way. And maybe hearing those coaches talk about it lets you know that this is not a one and done sort of message. This is the kind of thing that they live every day. They live it, they share it, and that just breeds strength in the fabric of the football program, in my opinion. While we're talking about the people that are involved with what's going on at the University of Georgia, if we look at the 2023 team, and if we look at recent history, we cannot ignore the presence of Brock Bowers, both for what he's done in the last 2 years and for what he's going to do in 2023, hopefully. Coach Hartley, in his press availability the other day, took some time to talk about Brock Bowers and sort of let us know. I mean, we think we know everything about that young man because he's one of the faces of the team. But Coach Hartley took a second to make sure that we fully understood just exactly what Brock Bowers means to the University of Georgia football program.
He's such a special kid, okay? And I'm not trying to be broad there, okay? Here's what I mean by that. Any box you create, he checks it, okay? I mean, just from a kid standpoint, all right? The kid's the hardest worker I've ever met, okay? He'll be the first one to breakfast. He'll be the first one in the training room to get his ankles taped. He'll be the first one in the meeting room, okay? He'll be the last one to lead the field. If we do a 10-yard sprint, he'll be the first one to win the 10-yard sprint. If we do a 30-yard sprint, he'll be the first one to win the 30-yard sprint. You get the point I'm making, right? And I think that's what makes him special. Yeah, he's talented, right? He's got extreme talent. He can run, he can jump, he can catch. He's tough, okay? But what makes him special to me is just his competitiveness. He is the ultimate competitor. The kid don't want to lose in anything, okay? And to be honest with you, I need to see Oscar Delp get reps, okay? I need to see Lawson Lucky and Pierce Sperling get reps. And when I take him off and limit some of his reps, he gets pissed off. He gets pissed off. Okay, I'm like, hey, Brock. He's like, what did I do wrong? Nothing, buddy. Just stand right here. It's okay. It's okay. And you know what? You should want it that way. Kids should be pissed off when they don't get their reps. Okay, that tells you that he wants to be great. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity that I get to coach him, man. He's such a great kid. Yeah, I just try to find ways not to mess him up, I guess now, you know. Okay, and but he challenges me to find new ways to reach him. Right? He challenges me to find new ways to continue to make him a better tight end, right? To continue to improve upon maybe little things in his game that could help him possibly on the next level. And so that is a challenge because he is good at a lot of things. And so continue to find maybe new individual drills or new ways to perfect his run game technique or his pass protection or even his route running technique can improve at times is that's a challenge. And but he does push me to become a better coach because of that. He set a precedent. Right? He set a standard of how you should practice at tight end. He set a standard of how you should watch tape at tight end. Like the best thing for Oscar Delp was being here and seeing how Brock Bowers does it. The best thing for Lawson Lucky and Pierce Sperling is being here seeing how Brock Bowers does it. So hopefully long after he's gone, the legacy that he's left stays for many years about how you're supposed to work, how you're supposed to approach each day, and how you become a pro, man, because that guy's a pro. And everything that he does. And hopefully that leaves a lasting legacy.
I don't think Brock's going to have to worry about that lasting legacy part. I mean, not only has he done what he's done in the first 2 years, he still has another year to go to pad his stats, to fill his trophy cabinet, hopefully adding another third championship, right? A second SEC title and a third national championship to that trophy. So I also think, though, that it's important to hear Hartley, one of the people who spends the most time with Brock, hear him speak directly to who the young man is and what he means to the program. Not just now, but what he could mean moving into the future. When you have a testament like that about a young man and his character, it just makes you root for them that much harder. I've started referring to Brock as everybody's All-American because it just seems that at least to this point, right? There's no chink in the young man's armor. And Dog fans are not the only ones that are rooting for him to succeed. So you can count me among that group, though. I am a Dog fan, but I will be cheering for Brock Bowers, both in a Georgia uniform and wherever he may land moving forward. So now that we've set the table completely for what the program is about, what the fabric of the program is, the pillars that they build this program on, let's get into the actual football talk, right? I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to find out what this team's going to be. Are they going to be able to measure up to the standard that's been laid down at the University of Georgia? There's a lot of new pieces there. We've got a new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, but there's also a lot of consistency. There's a lot of retention. There's a lot of the same faces in the hallways. There's a lot of the same methodology in the teaching, the program. So I think we all have a pretty good idea of what we're going to see when the season kicks off. But that's what Kirby's here to do. He's here to tell us about it. So let's talk a little training camp. What is training camp? What's it for?
I'm excited to get the guys out there. They've had a great summer workout session. The biggest focus for us in training camp is physical and mental toughness. That's why we do training camp. We try to expose our guys to a lot of scheme. We try to expose our guys to getting to know each other, moving into one central location, and really focusing just on ourselves.
Well, that's where the focus should be, because as we've heard Kirby say over and over and over, Georgia's greatest competition is themselves. That comes directly from the standard that they've built there. And I think that's exactly the way he wants it to be. I know that that's the way I want it to be, but I'm not in the program. And we know that winning at that level, you have to trust the process. It has to be about working to get better every day. It cannot be based on the results, the outcomes. It has to be based on the process. But part of that process is figuring out who that new quarterback's going to be. And Kirby did have some words on that. Like, we all think we know, or we might think that we know who's going to take snap one for the Dogs, but Kirby wants us to know that there's actually he has a pretty good idea of what it's going to take to earn the starting quarterback position this year.
I want to see them be where their feet are. For those quarterbacks, it's not to overwhelm themselves with the results, to overwhelm themselves with the process of getting better. They're going to get a lot of reps in the next 25 practices. They're going to get a chance to compete in the next 25 practices. So each one of them has individual things they need to work on. But for the whole, I want to see them, manage the offense, understand the offense, get people lined up, and execute. And the guy that does that best in critical situations will be the guy that becomes a quarterback.
I know that may sound like boring coach speak, but the truth is really there. He's telling you exactly what it is, because when you're at Georgia and you have the kind of weapons that they have around them, literally at every position, especially in that wide receiver room, that's a new thing this year, what they have done in that wide receiver room. That's the deepest wide receiver room that we've seen at the University of Georgia under Kirby Smart. So when you have that many tools at your disposal, it should work. But all of that can be untracked if the quarterback misses a pickup on a blitz read. Thank goodness Cedric Van Pran's back. He's going to help with that, especially earlier in the season. But those are the sorts of things that a quarterback has to sort through. Get everybody lined up right, make sure we're blocking the right people, and then let your athletes take over. Then let your training take over. And that way, you can go do the kind of things that we all, at least I, think we can do this year. I think there's a very real possibility that the University of Georgia could set a new average points record this year with this offense, simply because of the number of weapons that are out there, how off balance they're going to be able to keep opposing defenses. I think Mike Bobo could very well best the record that he set his last year in Athens. I believe that was 41.7 points per game. Would not surprise me at all if the Dogs end up topping that, like 42 points per game or maybe more, especially if earlier in the season they don't take their foot off the gas. If they actually let the kids go play get all the reps they can get in meaningful game time situations, there's a chance they could really, really ring up that scoreboard this year. And that would lend itself to setting a new record there. So Kirby Smart, you know, he let us know what training camp is. He told us about those quarterbacks, but there's a little bit more there that we need to hear from the head coach.
It's a goal of training camp to establish physical and mental toughness. Well, how do you do that? You don't go out and say, oh, God, please don't get hurt. Football is a tough, dangerous sport, which we practice as smart as anybody in the country. So we feel like we have a method that allows us to be physical and be tough, and also protect our players. So we're still, you know, a month out. So we want to get better. We're going to be physical. We're going to go against each other, and we're going to compete.
At the end of the day, they come right back to it. Toughness, physicality, that's what this program's about. And if you don't believe me, oh, I've got some evidence for you. I mean, we know what we've seen from this team the last couple of years. We know if you play defense, if you are good against the run, then you have to have effort and you have to have toughness. Those two things are vital if you're going to be good against the run. No one has been better against the run than the Dogs have over the last 4 seasons. They've allowed an average of 78 yards per game, less than 78 yards per game over the last 4 years. That's clearly the best in the country. That comes from being able to do the hard work when nobody's looking. That work in the trenches, guys like Zion Logue and Warren Brinson, Tramel Walthour, those guys down in there digging it out, holding their ground, and letting those linebackers run. That only comes from toughness. That is not the kind of job that's going to land you on SportsCenter or on the cover of the Athens Banner Herald or anything like that. That is not a glory job. But you have to do that job to get yourself in position to then go make a play on third down, get after the passer. So they understand, they know what it's about. But that toughness has to be built here in fall camp, and clearly that's the focus of what Coach Smart and the other coaches are trying to do right now, because they've talked a lot about it over the last week and a half, about the weather, how hot it's been, and how they're just like, yes, bring it on. I want it to be hot. We've got to put these guys through their paces. And if you've paid attention to any of the reporting from the first few days of camp here, you know that Kirby has been hot on that microphone, getting after folks, telling them to get to hustling. He is not taking a walk or a loaf as something that's going to be accepted at the University of Georgia. Not this year, not any year. And on that, if you think that the players don't know what they're getting into, if you think that they don't know, and I'm talking guys that have been there for a year or two, as well as guys that are considering the University of Georgia, recruits that might choose to come to the University of Georgia, they know. There is no misunderstanding about what it means to play for Coach Smart at the University of Georgia. Here, I've got some proof.
I play whatever position they put me at. That's just my love for the game, and I embrace it, man. We pride ourselves on versatility. You come in here, you don't think you're just playing one position. The more versatile you are, the more value you add into yourself. So I take pride in that, learning more positions. Hell, I try to learn linebacker if I could, but just really just embracing that and taking on that role. It's not about you, it's about the team. So whatever the team needs at that moment, at that game, I feel free to step in and fit wherever I see. Whoever gets the job done. To be honest with you, I don't point out single players. It's not my job, and it's really not my position to do so. But we have a lot of great players in the DB room that can take that, you know what I'm saying, that can fill in that position. We're looking for the guys that buy in and step up and play great football within our defense and within our standard. Like we have a saying, if you're on the field, you're a starter. It doesn't matter who's in. You step on that field, we expect you to produce. I just want us to play as a team, play together. Simple things that make defenses great defenses. Get a call, give a call. Run to the ball, be the best condition, be in shape, be physically dominant. Those are the things that help us win football games, and those are the things that we need to do in order to get to the places that we want to go. This game is physical. This place is physical. We just had a practice in Spiders. It still was physical, you know, and it's always going to be like that. That's not because or the certain players that are here. It's just the standard that we withhold within this organization. This place is physical. It was physical before I got here. It's gonna be physical after I leave. So just the physicality that we bring, and I pride myself on that. This game is physical. It's never gonna change, and you have to have that certain edge, that physicality. Some guys aren't as big as others. You know, you got to have that certain swagger and that certain ego about yourself, not in a bad way, but of a sense that, you know, you step on the field, this is the game that I love, and this is the game that I'm, you know what I'm saying, going to continue to play. So, like, it's just passion, man. It's passion and energy. Like I said earlier, I love this game. I love this game, and really just that's what you see on the field when I try to play, you know what I'm saying, at my best. Just really just this passion and energy.
Now, Javon had a lot to say right there that we should all pay attention to. Not only was he talking about his willingness to play at any position, to be cross-trained, to do what's best for the team. Those are the kind of things that you have to have if you're going to play at the University of Georgia, that team buy-in. But he also spoke directly to the idea of physicality. He let you know this place is physical. It was physical before me. It's physical now, and it will be physical when I'm gone. It is guys like Javon Bullard putting forward that kind of example. It is guys like Brock Bowers putting forward the example that Coach Hartley was talking about earlier, where even when they walk away from the University of Georgia, the way they do it has been proven to be the way that it needs to be done. And these younger players are watching and learning. And Kirby and the staff are out there recruiting like maniacs. They're getting the very best football players they can possibly get that want to be at the University of Georgia. And when you take that level of talent and you wrap it up in the sort of culture and the environment and the belief system and the process that is in place at the University of Georgia right now, you're going to end up with a good result. The last 2 years, that good result was good enough to become back-to-back and reigning national champions. That's proof of concept. You don't need anything more. If you don't think that these guys believe this with everything that they are, at this point, I really don't know what to tell you. Because not only do they live it, but they are sharing that message. They are spreading the good word about what it takes to be successful, because they know that the more successful the team is, the more success and individual accolades they are going to achieve. One thing can't happen without the other. It doesn't matter if you are a tremendous individual football player if the rest of the team is not supporting your efforts. They're wasted. It doesn't matter if you have a wonderful team. If you have someone out there who's dragging and acting as an anchor, it's going to pull down that team. They're not going to be as successful as they otherwise could be. So when you see the genesis, when you see the synergy of what's happening in Athens right now, it is something to behold, and it is certainly something that we Bulldog fans should appreciate. Now, speaking of the synergy, one of the main reasons for that synergy is the fact that the Dogs have been able to retain their staff for the most part and have been able to retain their players for the most part. Glenn Schumann is the face of that defense, and certainly the face of the linebacker room, since that's his coachable position. Coach Schumann has been there the entire time with Coach Smart. It's essentially like another brain. Like they share a brain at this point. They are working together in a way, along with Coach Muschamp, in a way that allows them to, I've actually heard other players from other teams say it's just not fair to have that kind of knowledge, that sort of experience inside the conference, all on one staff at the same time. And then you stack that with blue chip talent, you better believe that defense is supposed to be something fierce. If it's not, well, let's just say, I don't even want to think about that. Goodness, what would happen there? But I don't want to tell you any more about it. Let's let Coach Schumann tell you about what it means, what they're looking for, what it takes to play linebacker and defense at the University of Georgia?
We try to challenge the guys with a lot of volume, and you try to anticipate problems that are going to arise in the future, because right now what we do have is time to get reps, to teach, to correct. And so I think you need to be really forward thinking in terms of what issues are going to be presented in the future, and you build a library of options to pick from so that when you get to a game plan, you kind of know where I always compare it to being in a kitchen as a chef, right? And if you go in there and you have a fully stocked pantry, fully stocked fridge, you have all your seasonings and spices, you can make about whatever dish you want, depending on who you're cooking for, right? So each offense that you play, hey, you need to cook a little different, right? And hey, when we're focusing on us, that's like preparing food for your wife and kids at home. Like, hey, Bryson better get some chicken nuggets, right? That's what he needs. And so that's our identity. Hey, what are we good at? And then the extra fluff in there, we need to build a library so that we can pick from it. And that makes the game planning process easier because we know what we have and what we can do well. You do not start them in a small box, especially not a guy going into year 2. So we want to challenge them to be as versatile as possible, to go back and forth between being an edge rusher on our third down packages and playing inside linebacker on first, second down. And that's probably more than you guys realize. We've done that with a lot of guys over the years. Maybe they didn't end up being in that role on game day. He was able to do that for us last year, and we want to find out how much each guy in the defense can do right now. And so we're challenging them day to day. Hey, you have to be able to play inside linebacker on first, second down, even challenging them to do it some on third down, because there's other guys that are good edge rushers as well, and figuring out who the best 11 are. You have to have a home base, and you have to become strong in your home base first and then grow what you can do otherwise. It is a big piece, because when we talk about the question about game planning over here, how can you fit our defense to what we need to do for that opponent? You want to have guys that you don't feel can only do one thing, because now not only do you as a staff feel like, okay, we have to maybe protect this guy, or we have to only use them in this way. That other team knows that as well. And so in terms of opponents attacking us, the more versatile our players are, they can't necessarily say, well, we're only going to get this front to this formation or this coverage, or this player's only going to line up at a nickel, or is only going to line up at a safety corner. Hey, are they playing left and right corners, or are they playing field and boundary? There's a big difference, right? Or are they just getting up and playing ball based on where they are, and they're interchangeable? Because a lot of football is matchups. So if we can change the matchups by having versatile players, it's extremely helpful. Why was that teacher successful in reaching them? Probably they weren't stale in how they presented. They engaged the room. There was interaction. And so you can get guys acclimated in terms of scheme, add volume if you take pride in being a teacher and not just go put a playbook sheet on the board and say, here's your assignment. Hey, it's your job to know it. It's our job to teach it. The thing about a standard is that once you set it, you have to uphold it every single day. And so when we go out to practice today, we're not worried about the results that are going to come when we get to play our opponents this fall. We're worried about how can we uphold the standard today. We constantly measure things to hold guys accountable in terms of our results as a team defense in the prior day's practice. We show it to them when we fell short, okay, then we have to be accountable to that and demand that we do better the next day. We chart things in terms of individual measures of things that really matter to playing great defense. You know, the effort that you play with, you have to out-hustle people ultimately to play defense. The physicality you play with, you have to out-hit people to play defense at a high level. And your competitive nature that we were talking about earlier, you have to out-compete people. So the number one way we're going to uphold the standard, because schemes change year to year based on who your best 11 players are, best 15 players are, whatever it is, we're going to measure, did we out-hit people? Did we out-hustle people? And did we out-compete people? And if we do that, you're successful playing defense at just about any level of football.
Now, Coach Schumann has given away some gems there, some real knowledge. And I really do hope that you guys were listening, because that's the type of insight that's going to help you go, help me go. And that's my job. That's why I'm talking to you, is I want to help us all go from just watching the game to seeing the game, because there's a huge difference between those two things. If you're at the bar having dinner, whatever, The game's on the screen. That's watching the game. You're at the ballpark. You're watching the game. But if you want to see the game and you want to understand what's happening, well, that's what I strive to do here on this channel, is to help you have that perspective that's going to help you understand what the coaches are trying to do, what the players feel about it, how they are trying to go about their business, so that when they step on the field on Saturdays, you see that result that we as Georgia fans are now accustomed to, a dominant defense that goes out and wins games, that isn't afraid to play any team. That doesn't just happen. It's all about the philosophy and the build-up and the culture at the program. And that has to happen day after day after day. And Coach Shue just told you. He said, yes, we can teach them during the summer. We can expose them to a bunch of different things. He referred to it as volume. We can show them more things. That way, when we get into the season and we have to make an adjustment based on who we're playing, add a new piece of our playbook to the scheme for that week, it's not going to blindside the players. They've seen it before. They understand it. They can fold it in to that workable knowledge that they already have. And then they can go out and play fast and apply it on Saturday and let that blue chip ability take over. And that's where all dog fans and lovers of college football sit back and enjoy the game and praise our team. But none of that stuff just happens. Like I said, they have to go out and put in the work. We heard Bullard talk about playing any position. We heard Coach Shue talk about cross-training so that the defense or that the opposing offense doesn't know what you're going to do based on personnel on the field, based on simple alignment. When you've got guys that can play more than one position, and 11 is at middle linebacker for 2 plays, and then all of a sudden 11 is at a stand-up rush end or at an outside linebacker, what is he going to do? Is he going to blitz? Can you bet on the fact that he's going to blitz and shift your line that way? Meanwhile, giving somebody else, maybe Michael Williams on the other side, a one-on-one where he can get to the quarterback. You don't know if he's going to drop into coverage. What about Smile Munden? He's wonderful in coverage. Is he a guy that's going to drop back and take away that middle third, deep middle third, like in the old Tampa 2 defense? Or is he going to time it just right, split that A gap and come after your quarterback? You don't know. And that is the key to changing up looks on defense, keeping the opponent on their heels, being the aggressor, being the hunter. That's how you get there.
We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that.
Kirby and Shue have told you over and over. So when you watch the game and you see those things play out, just remember these sound bites, this show. Think about it that way, because that, to me, is truly being able to enjoy the game as a fan. When you see the game, you don't just watch the game. So I certainly have enjoyed hearing from the coaches and players this week. I hope you have. Now, that's not all we do on this show. We also take time to look back at the week that was and think about where we're going in the future. The week that was pretty interesting. There was a lot going on. I mean, it seemed like we were going to have a lull there for a day or so, and then all of a sudden, my phone is just blowing up, and there's stuff happening everywhere. This is still talking season for some of us, not actually at practice, doing the hard work. But if it's talking season, that also means that it is award watch list season. And this past week, we saw some of Georgia's very best land on a bunch of different award lists. We've talked a lot about Brock Bowers in this episode tonight. He landed on the John Mackey Award watch list in the preseason here. He is the defending John Mackey Award winner. Probably should have won it as a freshman, and he is definitely the front runner to win it here in his 3rd season. And Oscar Delp, who, let's be honest, if Georgia wanted to make him the primary guy, Oscar Delp could probably be a first-team SEC player and an All-American player this year. That's not his role right now, and he's fine with that. One of the clips I didn't show you was that Coach Hartley was talking about how very far he has come as a projected tight end. He was uncomfortable playing the tight end position when he first got to Athens, but he's taken coaching, and he has improved his game. He knows that Darnell Washington's no longer there, and he has to be better in the run game, better on his blocking fits. And Oscar has done that work. And Coach Hartley made sure to let us all know that he's doing a really good job. So congrats to Oscar and Brock for landing on the John Mackey Award preseason watch list. Then before I could turn around good, we had some more good recruiting news here if you're a Bulldog. A young man by the name of Nate Frazier, the overall #1 all-purpose back in the country, out of Mater Dei in California, committed to the Dogs this last week. He's rated as a 4-star. He's the kind of player that can do it all. He has good hands, quick burst, good speed. He's the guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. He already enjoys blocking, picking up blitzes in the pass game. He really can do it all. 5'10", 210 out of Mater Dei. He joins Chauncey Bowens and Dwight Phillips Jr. in the 2024 running back class. And that hopefully will be the Dogs' next 3-headed monster moving forward in the running back room. This is a person that I talked about last week a lot. Cedric Van Pran Granger. He landed on the Remington Trophy preseason watch list this week, presented to the nation's top center. I believe this is one of the main reasons that Cedric decided to come back for his senior year, his 4th season in Athens. He wants to be the best at his position. I think he's quite possibly the best interior lineman in the country. Certainly up for consideration for the best center. And best of luck to Cedric. I really, really hope that he gets some of those accolades this year that he deserves. And if, just as a side note, if you're not joined with us over on the Facebook page, take a second after the show here, jump over there and check that out. Because as you can see, I'm constantly putting fun videos and questions and polls and information and stuff like that over there for us all to enjoy. And then, speaking of polls, the next thing that landed on my desk was the fact that the coaches have decided that the Dogs are the preseason #1 team in the land heading into 2023. Georgia got 61 overall first place votes. Alabama had 4. Ohio State checked in with 1 vote as a first place team. As you can see, your top 5 there is Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Ohio State, and LSU rounding out the top 5. USC just outside at number 6. So this is the first time since 2008 that the Dogs enter the season as the preseason #1. So some people say the crown is heavy. That might be something that would be a problem for most teams. I am not at all concerned about that when it comes to the Georgia Bulldogs and the program, the foundation that Kirby has in place there. It's like we pointed out last week, Georgia expects to be good, and pressure is a privilege. And the guys just have to go out, do what they know to do, and they're going to be just fine. As the days rolled along, of course, more accolades rolled in for this Georgia Bulldogs team. This one was the Blitnikoff Award. We had 3 Dogs. I mentioned that deep wide receiving room in this year's team. 3 Dogs landed on the Blitnikoff Award, which is presented annually to the nation's most outstanding college receiver. It doesn't say wide receiver, it says college receiver. The fact that Brock Bowers is on this list, period, is amazing. It speaks to the kind of talent he is at the tight end position and the threat that he is, how important he is to the University of Georgia offense. But joining him on this preseason watch list was Dominic Lovett, the transfer in from Missouri. There's a lot of buzz around Lovett this year. Everyone's expecting him to have a big season in Athens. And then our guy Ladd McConkey also makes the list, being appreciated the way he should be for the first time. If we continue down the list here, there's a little news on here, a little tidbits about the upcoming college football game, the new video game that's coming out. And then, we started talking about what this week was going to be on the podcast. And I appreciate you guys being here with us. That's why we do this. We love talking ball. It's our favorite thing to do. And if we can do it all day, every day, that's exactly what we would do. So I appreciate you all being here with us for that. And finally, the place where all good dogs go, at adambeast.com. Head on over there. If you're not familiar with it, there's a lot of good stuff over there. We do keep a blog over there. Videos land on that page, and it is the one place, or yet, shall I say, another place where you can find the How About Them Dogs cast in podcast form. Each week when we upload a new podcast, it lands on the website. So if you don't know where else to go, you don't know how else to find it, you can go there and get your podcasts from A Damn Beast Media. But you can also find us on virtually every podcast platform. So anywhere that you enjoy listening to your podcasts, you should be able to find the How About Them DAWGSCAST. It should be there for you. If you do enjoy a good podcast, please take a second, rate the podcast, leave a comment if we earn it. And that's essentially how we view all of this stuff. I appreciate you all being here with me, and we are doing our very best to bring you Georgia Bulldogs content in a way that nobody else can. Again, I come to you, this is a passion project. I come to you as a fan, not as a journalist, although I am a journalist by trade. I come to you as a fan because that's the way I want to enjoy my college football right now, is as a fan. And I want to talk about the thing that fans like to talk about, and I want to talk about that with you. So whenever you're here, that is exactly what makes this the most fun, and it is exactly the kind of thing that keeps me motivated to keep trying to do more for you. So we're everywhere. If you enjoy what we're doing, if you think I've done a good job, please drop us a like. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps. And if you don't have time to catch the streams here on YouTube, then check out the podcast. Download it, listen to us in audio form, and enjoy it in the theater of the mind. We've covered a lot of territory here tonight. We talked about the kind of people that it takes to be at the University of Georgia, that the secret into what they're achieving in Athens right now is in the people. Coach Kirby Smart told you that. Coach Todd Hartley told you that. Coach Glenn Schumann told you that. Then it was evidenced when we heard Javon Bullard speak, when we heard Jamon Dumas-Johnson speak. They let us know, they gave us that insight that you can't get unless you pay attention to those guys. They let us know what it's like to be inside the building. We learned a lot. And again, my goal here at Damn Beast Media is to help you not just watch the game, but see the game. Because those two things are not the same. I give the people who are on my channel and who visit these live streams, who interact with me on social media, I give you all tremendous credit. You guys are not the kind of people that might be called casual or bandwagon fans. You do not follow a college football program 12 months out of the year the way you guys do, unless you're a maniac about it, unless you love the sport the way I do. And I appreciate you being here. That's why we have a good thing going. I don't want those folks flying in and flying out. I like the people who come and stick around and let's talk some football for a while, because I mean, that's what it is. This is a community. That's the thing. I couldn't find a place on YouTube that allowed me as a Georgia fan to just talk dogs in a way that wasn't focused on recruiting or, you know, a rip and read shock jock sort of mentality. And hey, everybody can do whatever it is that makes them happy. That's fine. I just know that's not me. And I didn't feel comfortable in some of those places. So I wanted to create a space where real people who with serious thoughts about the game could come and talk about Georgia football. So again, thank you for all for being here. I appreciate it very much. It's all dogs all the time.
Told them, how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told them.
And that's what we all say, right? And I just, I'm really looking forward to what this team is going to shake out to be. I think we all know that they should be pretty good. But how good can they be? Those sort of moments in the crucible for whoever turns out to be the quarterback, right? The thing that Stetson Bennett had that no quarterback in recent memory had done any better was he had that clutch gene. And when the money was on the line, Stetson made the plays. That is ultimately the way this next quarterback or the next few quarterbacks at the University of Georgia are going to be judged. is you're going to have a game where you are not just better than everybody else at every position. You're going to have a game where you don't play well or injuries get in the way, and you're going to have to pull it out of the fire. That is where whoever is playing quarterback for the University of Georgia is going to show the world exactly what they're made of. That's going to be what determines whether the Dogs can go 12-0 again in the regular season. That's going to be what determines whether they can make it back to another national championship game and try to make history as the first three-peat champions since the 1930s, the first of the modern era to win 3 consecutive national titles. There's a lot of history in front of this team. I'm excited to see it. I love what we've seen so far. Just the growth from spring through what I saw firsthand at media days to what we see coming out of camp. The growth both from individual players and from this team seems positive. Everything sounds like we're headed in the right direction. So I'm very excited, and I'm getting more excited by the day, and I know you are too. College football is coming. And I personally could not be any happier than I am right now, knowing that college football is headed this way. So with that, I'll leave you with it. I'll talk to you again next week. I want to thank you again for being here at How About Them DAWGSCAST. Check us out on the pod. Check us out on YouTube. We're everywhere. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. That's me. But only because there's people out there like you listening and participating and interacting with me. So thank you for being here. And until next week.
Told them, how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told them.
We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that.